Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Today we're going to be tackling Lattafa perfumes, one of the biggest names in cologne fragrances out there right now. For me, for a long time, Lattafa was basically Rogba, and that was about it. It was Rogba. But that's not the case anymore. No, Lattafa is huge, and they keep pumping out new cologne fragrances that keep getting better and better. So at this point, for a lot of people, Lattafa would be the #1 cologne brand over Armaf even. And in today's video, what I'm gonna be doing is talking to you guys about what I feel like are 10 of the absolute best Lattafa fragrances you can buy right now. You guys, I will have these linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. And if you do some shopping at twistedlily.com, luckyscent.com, maxaroma.com, or So Avant-Garde, here are some codes for you. Feel free to pause the video and check those out. So as I was mentioning before, for a long time, Lattafa was not viewed as a really big player, at least in the US, in the cologne market, but that has definitely changed. They keep pumping out more and more releases, and it seems like each one gets progressively better than the last. And in case for some reason you don't know what I'm talking about when I say clones, essentially they are taking another brand's release, a more expensive fragrance, and they are doing their version of that fragrance and then putting it out for sale at a much lower price. So essentially you can get something that smells like a $350 fragrance, only you paid 30 bucks. Let's start with one of the most obvious ones, if not the most obvious, Comra. So Comra from Lattafa, this is a clone of Angel Share from By Kilian, in case you couldn't tell by the presentation. And that is one thing that Lattafa does maybe more than any other big clone house, is they'll put out fragrances where their presentation is like a direct emulation of the fragrance that they're cloning, just to make sure nothing gets lost in translation there. They want you to know. So as I said, Comra is an alternative to Angel Share. It is amazingly good, a huge compliment puller, fantastic for fall and winter. It's very sweet, as you would expect an Angel Share clone to be. It's got really nice performance, and actually the box of this is better for the Lattafa than the By Kilian, go figure. And Angel Share is a very popular fragrance, of course, so there are a lot of different alternatives to that fragrance out there, new ones popping up all the time. But as of when I'm filming this video, Comra is the best one. This is the one that you want. After that, let's go with something a little different. It's from Maison Alhambra. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, wait a sec, I thought this was Lattafa. Yes, it is, but Maison Alhambra is Lattafa. So if you ever get a Maison Alhambra fragrance, you can look on the box, look at the bottom, and it will just say Lattafa perfumes on there. So same thing. Let's go with this one first, Amber and Leather. Now, admittedly, the presentation looks pretty cheap on this one, and it is an inexpensive fragrance. Actually, most of these are very inexpensive, but even with it being an inexpensive fragrance, yes, it does look pretty cheap. And in case you were unaware for some reason of what Amber and Leather is a clone of, well, it's a clone of Ombre Leather from Tom Ford. The similarity is uncanny. Tom Ford fragrances, of course, very expensive and very popular, which opens them up to a multitude of clones. And this is not the last Tom Ford clone that we're going to see in this video. Oh no, there is one more yet to come. And in spite of this looking horrifically ugly, it is actually a very well done fragrance and will get you extremely close to smelling like Ombre Leather, only at a much cheaper price point. So you're going to get a leather fragrance here that is extremely versatile, very pleasing, has a nice sweetness to it, a little floral edge, just like Ombre Leather. And this is one of the fragrances that had me start to come around on Maison Alhambra, because I actually tried some of the first fragrances that Maison Alhambra came out with, and some of those really sucked. Some of those were not really all that good in my opinion. And yet this one, in spite of, again, how it looks, started to change my mind, because I was like, wait a sec, this is actually pretty good. So Amber and Leather, you want an Ombre Leather alternative, you don't want to spend much money, check this stuff out, it's very good. Let's get another one of the really big Lattafas out of the way. Assad. Now, this one does not look like the fragrance bottle that it is cloning. It's a clone of Dior's Sauvage Elixir, which is one of the most popular designer releases of the past few years, and also one of the most expensive designer releases of the past few years. I should also say that a lot of these Lattafa fragrances are an extreme demand, which means that they will sometimes be sold out from the usual suspects, the discounters where you'd usually pick them up from, places like Fragrance Buy or Joma Shop. They'll get these in stock and then they will sell out, so do be aware of that. If you check the websites and they aren't there, they'll probably be back before too long because it's a constant cycle. If they get them in, they sell them out. They get them in, they sell them out. One thing you can always do is put your email address in on their web pages where it will tell you, you know, put your email address here and be informed when we get it back in stock. You can do that, or you can just keep checking periodically and eventually they'll come back. But do be aware that some of these are kind of annoying trying to get just because they sell out. So yeah, Abiad is quite similar to Dior Sauvage Elixir, only much more affordable. Great performance with this one. And it does have that sort of classically masculine feel that Sauvage Elixir has. It does that very well. So Abiad, this one, if you want Sauvage Elixir, this is what you want. Let's do another popular one, Oud for Glory. This one by Lattafa, not Maison Alhambra. And you can tell what it is. It's a clone of Oud for Greatness. I mean, this is another one of those deals where they just directly emulate the look of the bottle. And Oud for Glory is a really good alternative to Oud for Greatness. You're gonna get the same kind of vibe. You're gonna get that sweetness. You're gonna get that saffron from it. Very nice performance as well. And there are actually some other fragrances out there that try to copy the Oud for Greatness look like Oud for Glory does, but this one does it best. It's kind of funny actually, because you have Oud for Greatness, right? The Initio, the pricey one, the real one. And it has the very nice presentation, and they try to copy it here, and you do get like a nice thick plaque on the front of the bottle that wraps around. And then you have cheaper clones than this one that have like a similar look, but then it's a paper sticker on the front. So like if you want to go even cheaper, you can get those, but then you look like you're rocking some real dollar store stuff. Now the next entry is actually more of a line of fragrances that Lattafa has. So this one is Anna Abiad Rouge, and this stuff is crazy cheap. I think this is like $17. It's really inexpensive. And when it's in stock at Fragrance Buy, I have seen it because of Canadian dollars to US dollars fluctuating down as low as like 15 bucks. But Joma Shop always has it at like 17. This is an alternative, a clone of Baccarat Rouge 540. And for under $20, it is sick. It is very good. And you can just tell right away, just smelling from the atomizer, that this is BR 540. And I think when you're talking really extremely cheap fragrances, that this is gonna be your best BR 540. Under 20 bucks, like I said, I think I paid 15 for it. You can't expect to get anything worth a crap for 15 bucks. And this has no right to be as good as it is. So $15, this is the best BR 540 you're gonna find. But there are others in this Anna Abiad Rouge, which are very good as well. I also bought this one more recently, Anna Abiad Leather. It's just as cheap as Rouge. And this one, it's funny, I didn't look up what this was supposed to be a clone of before I got it in. I was just like, well, I'll wing it. And then when I got it in and opened it and looked at the front there, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a Memo clone. And it is. This is like a twist on Memo Paris's Irish Leather. And it is, once again, a very good one, especially when you consider the price. So this whole Anna Abiad line, for the price point, it's full of gems. Next one is Maison Alhambra, and it is Tabac. And this is a clone of Dior's Tabacular. I hate that name. Unfortunately, it does not have a magnetic cap. The Dior does. You copied their bottle, you can't copy the cap. Plan that would have made it, I guess, more expensive. But this is a knockout clone of the Dior. It is so good. This one is a sweet tobacco fragrance, really concentrating on a fruity sweetness off the top, kind of a stone fruit sweetness, and then a little bit of smoke as it dries down. But the smoke is not overwhelming. It really does focus more on that sweet fruitiness with kind of a warm, ambery undertone to it that grows as the fragrance dries. Love the fragrance, very inexpensive, a great pickup. And from there, another Maison Alhambra that also is copying a bottle style, the Tux. This, I would say, is probably, as of this video, like the most sought after fragrance across Lattafa right now. It's harder to find, you know, it gets in stock, sells out very quickly. Comra has been around longer, so that one people have had a chance to scoop up. This one has not, and this is a clone of Tuxedo from Yves Saint Laurent. For a long time, Rochas Mustache was the go-to as a cheap Tuxedo alternative. I should say mustache eau de parfum, not the eau de toilette, but the Tux is better. When I say better, I mean better at being an alternative to Tuxedo from YSL. Rochas Mustache Eau de Parfum, you know, is its own fragrance at the end of the day. It's not a clone, but if you do want the closest thing to Tuxedo at a cheap price point, it is the Tux. And I actually really do enjoy this bottle. Extremely angular on the corners, like sharp corners, but outside of that, that's good stuff all the way around. Back to Lattafa, and a very cheap one at that, Fakar Black. This one, they decided not to go with a bottle that looks even remotely near what it's a clone of. I mean, looking at this, you would have no idea. Maybe you would think like, well, I don't know, an M. Mikolov clone, like a Royal Vintage, like the old bottles of Royal Vintage, kinda, I don't know. It's got like fish scale designs on the back. It truly is odd when you compare it to the other fragrance bottles here, but this is a clone of Yves Saint Laurent's Y Eau de Parfum, and it's very inexpensive. So this one is gonna be great for guys who want that blue fragrance, versatility, complement factor, wearability, but maybe you just don't have the money to splurge for an Yves Saint Laurent, because Y Eau de Parfum is not really cheap. You know, at discounters, it's never discounted heavily, so this does save you a lot of money in that aspect. Or maybe you're a younger guy and you don't have the money to pony up, you know, $100 for an Yves Saint Laurent, but you do $20 for this. Or maybe you do have the money, but you just don't want to buy the YSL, or you don't want to use up your bottle of YSL, and this will take care of that for you. It'll give you those vibes at a much lower price point. Okay, Maison Alhambra again, and this is again sort of a line like we did with Anna Abiad. It is their blatant ripoff of Tom Ford Private Blend fragrances. I don't know what to call these. Blatant ripoff of Tom Ford Private Blend just seems like the best way to describe these. I mean, you tell me. I think, yeah. So this is Porto Neroli. Porto Neroli, what could that be a clone of? Surely not Neroli Portofino. And then we have Woody Oud. What could that be? Of course, Woody Oud is oud wood. And then I've also got Bright Peach, which is a clone of Bitter Peach. And I have Toscano Leather, which is a clone of Tuscan Leather. And these are surprisingly really good. Yeah. They are sometimes like Tom Ford Private Blends with a slight twist. So keep that in mind. They're not always like an exact one-to-one, but they are very close. As an example, Bright Peach. This one is like Bitter Peach, only with an amplified peach note. And it is a little bit sweeter off the top, a little bit fresher, and that's reflected in the name, Bright Peach, as compared to Bitter Peach. Last one. This is actually one of the Lattafa fragrances that was loved a bit before they really hit their stride. It is Amir Ali Oud Intense. And this one is one of the earlier Lattafas that I got. Like I said, Rogba was the first one. And then Rogba Wood Intense was good. Actually really good. I like that one a lot. And there were other fragrances as well, but a lot of the early Lattafa fragrances that I got my hands on were more in a traditional Middle Eastern style, if you want to call it that, you know, more focused on oud, more focused on very warm spices. And so all those early ones that kind of got hyped in the community, they were more based in that style before they kind of graduated on to what they're doing now. But Amir Ali Oud Intense, this one for me kind of bridges the gap a little bit, and this smells like By the Fireplace from Maison Martin Margiela. So it's going to give you that sort of chestnutty warmth, that gourmand feel to it. Really nice holiday fragrance. The quality here, very nice. Obviously the presentation looks nothing like Maison Martin Margiela, but when you smell it, it's unmistakable. And this one is, like everything else here, extremely good quality. By the Fireplace, maybe not as much of a hype beast as, you know, Angel's Share or Tuxedo, but still, it's a great smelling fragrance, and this one is probably gonna be your best bet as far as an inexpensive alternative to that one. So there we go, the 10 best Lattafa fragrances to buy as of right now, with the caveat that I don't have every single Lattafa. I keep adding new ones and they keep adding new ones. So no doubt this will change as time goes on, and I'll do an updated list as it makes sense, as new things come out and as I try new things from them as well. And I do want to say also that just because something is not in this list, that does not mean that it's bad, because they have a lot of other fragrances that are extremely good, but tried to keep this whittled down as much as I could, and I still put in kind of extra stuff. All right, guys, that will do it for me. If there's a Lattafa that I have not covered before and you want me to, shoot me an email, gentsensonline@gmail.com. Just let me know what it is. Thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.